Let's do a much needed paycheck protection funding update because I have received tons of questions from people who are still sitting, waiting with their application being processed, and they don't know exactly what's going on. And I've seen tons of great questions also posted in various forums and things like that online that I monitor just to see where the questions are, see what exactly is going on. So I felt like I should make this video to address some of the top questions that I'm seeing, to give some more context and then hopefully give some more peace of mind as to what is going on. So if your application is still being processed or you're hoping for more PPP funding, this is the video for you because we're going to cover tons of things from are people still getting funded, forgiveness, whether there will be more funding, where we're sitting with that, promissory note issues. We're going to cover a huge variety of things going on. Plus, also, I just need to say this is my first video from my new home. So this is kind of exciting. I'm a little bit all over the place still. And if the audio isn't great, if it's a little echoey, I apologize. I'm still in the middle of setting everything up. And this will get better and better over the next few weeks as I get more shipments coming in. I don't know how much you guys want to hear about this whole process of moving across the country, across the ocean, and things like that. But let me know if you're interested in what exactly you're interested in about that if you are. So let's get into the video talking about paycheck protection funding. So we're just going to go through some of the top questions and concerns here, and then we're just going to address them one by one. Simple enough. First question, are people no longer getting funded? I keep seeing this asked. I keep getting asked this. I keep seeing it in comments. There are still people getting funded. Of course, that number is slowly decreasing over time simply because there's less funding. There's less applications actually submitted being processed. And when I say that there's less funding, I mean there's less funding being actually sent to borrowers. All the funding is allocated. It's all allocated, but that does not mean that people aren't still getting deposits made into their bank accounts. So there's kind of two different ways here where you may be approved but not actually funded yet, or funding may be coming your way. The first one is simply bank processing. So the SBA approves your application. They send that approval, they send that thumbs up over to your lender. Your lender then approves it on their end and then deposits the funds to you. So the SBA sends that approval. Your lender then has 20 days to send the funds to you. As long as there's no issues, they have 20 days, and then an ACH deposit can take 3 to 5 days. So really you have 23 to 25 days after SBA approval to be funded. So there's a period of time there where now people are being funded still, even if they got approved towards the end of May. May still be a little while before they actually get funded. And absolutely every single day I'm seeing more and more people, even in the Discord, which you should join the Discord if you have questions about the PPP. That'll be linked down in the description. It's totally free. There's a bunch of questions and answer going on there. It's really helpful if you're confused about the PPP program. So people are still being funded. It just can take a little while with that 20 days and the 3 to 5 day processing time. Also, we have hold codes. So this is a huge variety of issues. So let's just, to help illuminate this, let's pop over to the screen here. This is a procedural notice from the SBA. It was posted a while ago, but it gives a little bit of context on the hold codes and what exactly is going on here. This is if you see something like lender secondary review or some kind of holdup at the SBA, this is some explanation as to what exactly is going on. So these are some of the hold codes. It is not all of them. I've heard that there's more than 40, but I've also heard that there's even more than that. So we can see disqualifying criminal history or something wrong with your identity check, disqualifying bankruptcy, a potential match to sanctions list identified, or for whatever reason you're on the do not pay list, applicant potentially deceased. I hope not. I hope you're alive and well. Dormant business identified. I'm kind of concerned about this one because I could see some issues popping up here where for whatever reason it appears like your business isn't in business when it actually is. You can see that with a lot of these. Applicant tax ID discrepancy or mismatch. If you typed in something wrong, there could be a hold code there, and you could be sitting for months at the SBA because they just started processing these. So there's some issues here that can throw hold codes. I know for sure there are other issues as well that aren't even listed on this. Something like putting in multiple applications sometimes seems to send up a red flag in the SBA system. I know that's a popular reason. There are a million reasons why that can happen. And then what happened is if you got put in that bucket of hold codes, the SBA didn't really look at you until just recently. They have said that they're spending the month of June processing these hold codes. So what happens here, let's talk about how this works. The SBA throws up a red flag for whatever reason, whether that should be thrown or not. I have a feeling for most people it's not, because the system seems to be very sensitive and just throws a flag willy-nilly. So what happens is the SBA is then going to start going through these. Hopefully most of those, the SBA is going to do some kind of manual review and be like, oh, that's actually not an issue. Let's just pass that through the lender. Good to go. Some of the other ones, they're going to say, hey, we need some confirmation on whatever the issue may be. They may reach out to the lender and say, hey, we need this documentation. We need another tax return. We need some more bank statements, whatever that might be. Then your lender will reach out to you, request those documents. Then you'll send them to the lender will send them to the SBA. You should then be approved. And then you'll go through the process of the funding going to your lender, you signing the promissory note, you eventually getting funded. Now it's good here. The good news here is it appears the SBA, when an application is in some kind of hold code, they consider that funding already allocated. So they're saying that those people who are able to get released on the hold codes will get funded, but that could take a while. And I suspect that there'll be some kind of extension here beyond June, at least with the processing of these applications, because I find it really hard to believe that the SBA and lenders are going to be able to process all of these hold codes, all of these secondary reviews in, 21 days, 22 days until the end of the month. That doesn't seem reasonable to me. I could very well foresee an extension here. Hopefully that way more and more of those hold codes can be released. So I haven't personally heard of anyone with some kind of hold code being released yet, but we're still at the beginning of the month, and I'm very hopeful that we start seeing a flood of those loans actually being funded, which would be amazing news, and I'll update you as soon as I hear anything. If you have been funded, let me know if you've gone through that whole situation. Next question. If I have signed a promissory note, will I absolutely be funded? Now, I know a lot of people, they've signed their PN from their lender, and they're just sitting like, okay, it's been a while. Am I going to get funded? And yes, you should, unless there's some unforeseen issue. Your bank denies it. There's something going on where, for whatever reason, you can't receive that payment. You should receive funding. I don't want to say 100% because there issues can arise, but it basically means like, yes, you're approved. Funding is allocated for you, even if you haven't received it yet. Just remember, you have that 20-day period for your lender, and then a 3 to 5 day ACH period. And then if there's issues with your bank, there could be more delays there. Could be a while, but if you sign a PN, a promissory note, you should be good to go. You should get funded. Next, if I applied but haven't signed a promissory note yet, is it even possible to still be funded? Now, this is possible, but at this point, it's not likely. So there's kind of 2 ways that you could be funded if you haven't yet signed a promissory note. 3 ways. The first one would be the hold codes that we already talked about. Second, if the SBA has already approved you, sent that approval to your lender, and your lender just simply hasn't sent you the promissory note yet. I don't think that's going to be the case for most because it's a fairly automated process, but that's one option. And then third, you have actually received the promissory note, but it's in your bulk or junk mail or something like that, and you don't know that you received it yet. So check your bulk, check your junk mail, make sure that there isn't a DocuSign or whatever your lender is sending for your promissory note that you haven't signed yet. So there's kind of 3 ways it's possible, but at this point, it's fairly unlikely that if you haven't received that promissory note, but barring the group of in hold codes, because I think a fair majority of those people will actually be funded. You just haven't received, any processing yet on that end. So it's possible, but depends on the situation. Next, what if I can't answer the security questions along with my promissory note, or you answered one wrong? Really, what I found here, the only thing you can do in this situation is reach out to your lender, which I know can be frustrating depending on your lender. I mean, pretty much every single lender, as far as I can tell, it's hard to actually get in contact with someone. But it seems like that can only be re-triggered through your lender, or they may potentially have an app that allows you to re-trigger those security questions. But if you simply can't answer them, as far as I can tell, there's no other alternative way to prove you are you. So yeah, if you can't answer them, you simply can't answer the security questions. They're there for a reason. Next, when do I apply for forgiveness? Now, again, there's no rush here. I've said this a million times, but I'm sure I'll have to say it a million times more. You have 10 months until after your covered period to apply for PPP forgiveness. Most lenders for round 2, more 2021 loans. Most lenders for 2021 loans have not begun processing forgiveness applications yet. This is because they have been solely focused on getting people approved. Now that their job is kind of winding down here on that end, they will then begin focusing on the forgiveness end within a month or so. I've heard from multiple lenders they're going to start in July, but I wouldn't even personally bank on that. I wouldn't bank on July. Just bank on that happening in a few months from now and don't even really worry about it as of right now. And then most lenders, it should be very automated and you'll just have to fill out your basic information or it will be auto-filled for you. The forgiveness application is a one-page form for loans under $150,000. If there's nothing suspicious on your application, you don't even need to submit any additional documentation. It is very easy. I will update you as soon as there are updates here. I will absolutely post a video on that, on forgiveness, when you can do it through various lenders. I will post that, so make sure you're subscribed, turn on the notification bell. I will also post a video whenever I receive PPP forgiveness for my second draw 2021 PPP loans. I will post a video for both of those occasions, so make sure you're subscribed. Next, will there be more funding? Will there be more PPP funding? This is the question that everyone wants to know. I don't have good news here because there's no new bills proposed besides the ones that we've already seen, which would need to be updated if they were to be passed right now, because we would need much more funding than is offered on either of those. And one of them offers no funding and the other offers $5 billion in funding. That's just simply not enough. We need something more like $120 billion to fund everyone who's still applied. But I still am optimistic, and I'm optimistic because the Restaurant Revitalization Fund also needs funding. So there's two programs, and because there's two areas that need addressing, here's a little bit on the on the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Because there's two programs that need funding, I think the odds increase dramatically. And the RRF was very successful in that people liked it, people got funded very quickly, but more than $28.6 billion in funding, all that was allocated was just zapped up nearly instantly, and they needed $65 billion estimated for all those who have applied. So they needed more than double of what was allocated for the program. So obviously they're far off the mark here, even further than with the Paycheck Protection Program, where they're off the mark by about 10 to 15% in total funding. And I think because both these programs need funding, both were extremely successful, the odds are there. It's just we were not certain. We're just unfortunately not certain, and there's still going to have to be a larger push to get something to happen here. Now, there has been whisperings to repurpose some of the EIDL funding because there's likely going to be funding left over there, but that would not be enough to completely fund these other programs. They would probably have to do some kind of targeted Paycheck Protection Program and targeted Restaurant Revitalization Fund in order to make that happen. So there's one potential there, but that's not huge either. I will also keep you updated on any major updates there as well. So I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.